Well, good morning, Datsun 720 fans. It's time to get back at this and see what we're going to do with it today. There is a plan, so stay tuned. Well, good morning, young fellers. Look at you guys. Y'all come out here to watch some work today. Rudolph. Hey, Rudolph. Rudy. Good morning. So the plan on this poor old thing today will be the carburetor, do an update on the carburetor on this thing. Try to do some more vacuum delete. There's still a few more pieces over here that need to be gone over. I also discovered that the body ground is pretty lousy down here, and the actual engine ground that's back right underneath this water thermostat housing is kind of dirty. Got to thinking when I was checking voltage on the coils the other day with ignition on, I only had 10 volts over there, and things look kind of a little rusty and nasty. So I'm going to be checking both the positive cable today and this negative cable, fixing up what we can, trying to do some cleaning inside these old battery clamps, which are really bad off. That can't be helping things too much. Also going to start getting in here and capping off some of these vacuum ports that we're not going to be using. We're going to use the one vacuum line off the carburetor for distributor vacuum advance. The brake booster is going to stay in place. And then if there's time, we'll get down here and look at this starter issue again too. Pound on it a little bit. See if we can make it run after we know we've got a good 12-volt source down there. And that's the game plan for today. So let's start with an update on this carburetor issue. Bench sure is a mess. I also work on vintage electronics, bringing back old things like this old Kenwood cassette deck. Got a pretty good electronics shop going. But the interesting thing on the bench is, if you remember from before, this old Weber carburetor, these secondaries are stuck pretty hard on this thing. So after working with it, I discovered that I think this thing's too far gone for me to do anything with, other than a full disassembly on it. So I found a seller on eBay that had another 3236 Weber. This was new in box. They'd never used it. The thing is absolutely beautiful. Great seller. Looks like they got it from the kit from Pierce Manifolds. So I got a smoking deal on this carburetor and a jet kit for it. So thank you to that eBay seller. You've made this revival possible. The other thing that I noticed was, in looking at this old carburetor, there's Weber stickers. But the word Weber's nowhere in the casting. The logo's nowhere in the casting, like it is on this particular carburetor. So I think this original one I bought was a knockoff. Had no idea, which is probably why it gunked up so bad without ever even running it for the first time. So this thing's going to go on there too once we get way into this project. So that's an update on this. All right, first order of business will be cleaning up some of these grounds, the wiring. See if we can do anything with this negative terminal. Wow, there's years of neglect rolling up off of there into my face, into my lungs right now. That's good. But this is my fault. I didn't take care of this thing like I should have. This poor old thing had a fairly hard life before I bought it. We're in southwestern Oregon, And this truck belonged to a rural fire department down here. When I say rural, I mean a town of probably, I don't know, 250, 300 people. And what they did with it is they had a pump and a lot of water hose in the bed of this thing, and they would drive this down into creeks or little rivers or into the edge of ponds or whatever, anywhere where they could find some water to be able to support the fire suppression efforts that they were doing. So it's amazing there's not more rust on it than there is, but it's pretty darn clean and solid. The only rust that's really on it are things like this battery tray I'm standing over. It's about as bad as it can get. There's just pieces of it left. So it's actually, this is pretty fortunate. It's not in terrible rough shape. One other happy thing to note is that after I moved it down here in the first video, I mentioned that the front four-wheel drive hubs were not engaging and disengaging. And after we rolled it, it seems like it's working now. Seems like it's back in business, so I can turn them, and that's another good thing. So I already cleaned up this bolt for this ground, and now I'm just going over these terminals, and yeah, it's amazing that the engine ground is as rough as it is. So I'm gonna take a minute here, get these all cleaned up, and we'll be right back. All right, well, first couple of grounds cleaned. The inside of this terminal looks better now. Also found one that's kind of hard to see on the side of this rusted out battery tray. That's done. Found another one here to the body, and also apparently there was body ground problems before, because there's one from here going up to the firewall right there under those brake and clutch lines. So we'll get all those cleaned up next and see if we got good voltage to the coils. Note also, guys, some of these old screws, like you're seeing with that ground, some of these things over here on the side of the fender that we're going to get rid of for vacuum delete, some of them screws have been in there for, well, this thing's an 81, so, you know, 50 some years almost. So, you know, guys, if you don't have one of these cool little tools, just a impact wrench that you whack with your hammer, these guys will save you hours on stripped heads of bolts, various things like that. I think I found this one for the whole kit for $2 at a thrift store. It was missing the socket on here, but it's just a standard, like a 5/16 socket. And got to get yourself one of these. It'll certainly make your life easier. All right, all those other grounds are clean and back in place now, which is good. So the next thing now is on to all these coil terminals. And if this looks weird to you, people that are not Datsun aficionados, this is a dual coil setup. This is not a V8 Datsun, even though it's got 8 plug wires and plugs. It's the Z22 engine that's got 2 coils and a bank of 4 plugs on one side, bank of 4 on the other. It was theoretically done to help with emissions. One bank, I guess I shouldn't say one bank, the plugs will fire just slightly offset from one another on the same cylinders, and that's to do a final burn on any fuel and air that might have been unburnt. So again, next thing now is to pop these wires off these coils. I'll test them while I got them off, and we'll also get some wiring and nuts cleaned up here. Probably should put a little oil. A little bit of oil on these to help loosen them up a bit. I don't have any liquid wrench or anything cool, so I'm just using some old school 3-in-1, which it'll get in there enough to do the job. Wow. That, well, I'm probably gonna shred this connector trying to get this dude off. Nope, there it comes. It's clean though. Holy smokes. One wire on each one of these wants to hang up and spin the terminal that's under it. We'll give it a little application of some tap and see if we can't just break a little bit of rust loose. Yeah, that looks like that might have helped on that one. Same thing again with these. I doubt these have been off in probably never since this thing was built. Go ahead and test this coil real quick. Got it on the lowest range setting on the multimeter here, and we're looking, that's got 1.8 ohms, so 1.5 to 3 is okay. And then with this one we should have about 15,000. This one's 10,000. I think I'll take that. At least it's not an open or a dead short. If it was either of those, then that coil needs to be replaced. A little bit of wire brush is about all these needs. But these terminals, I'm going to use some power on them so we can get through all these years of gunk. Oh, that's pretty. Doesn't take much, so don't go crazy and grinding all the way through those little terminals. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of metal in them. And then don't forget the back side of your nut. This is a nut and washer combo. Don't forget that. So got a good scrape down too. Get that one put back on, at least started. Go to the other one here. Nice. I don't believe I cleaned that terminal off. Well, let's hit it. That's more like it. Be a little careful with these guys. They're old. No telling how brittle this wiring is. Yeah. That'll work for our purposes. If you're wondering why I'm using an open-end wrench instead of a socket on this, it's a 10 millimeter. Of course, 10 and a 12, 14. You can do most anything on these old Datsuns. But like most guys, my 10 millimeter socket's gone. I have no idea where it's at. I've never bought another one. I should buy a half dozen of them because it seems to be the most common one. And all you do is lose them all the time. So that should be much happier. Originally we had about 10 volts coming to these coils, and that's not enough to start anything. So let's work on this secondary coil here. I do not know which of these two coils fires which banks off the top of my head. No idea. But just make sure you keep the coil wire going to the correct spot on the distributor. And you got the correct plug wires going to the correct plugs, and you should be okay. And that last one back there is being a pain in the butt. So I think what I'm going to do is, now that I've got these done, I'm going to pause this video and bust that one loose and finish it up. Moved on ahead. I actually cracked the back side of this coil trying to get that wire off, so I decided I would leave it alone for now. I'm going to have to get a coil. It did test okay, which is a bummer. So I moved off to some more of the vacuum work. I capped off this canister where the vacuum was split from distributor to up there. So now the distributor vacuum is just one simple little line. And I decided I'm going to use the line that's coming off of the manifold instead of what comes off the carburetor. And if that doesn't work well, I'll go ahead and move up and use the vacuum that's coming off the carb. Well, it got interrupted by a phone call, so I had to jump off. The other thing I still have to do on this is there was this line coming up from the exhaust manifold that went into the air cleaner. So I'm going to have to get that busted loose and get a plug to go into that. Other than that, I've also got to figure out carb linkage on this thing. I'm going to have to adapt this over to what that Weber's going to need. And next I'm going to start jumping on this starter, I think. I'm going to do some testing on the wiring off camera, and we'll see what's going on, see whether I have voltage down there or not. And we'll report back here in a little bit. Well, with all of the ground cleanup on this, I think it's time to see if this thing will still crank. I mean, shoot, it could be that's why it wasn't even trying to start last time, is there just wasn't enough voltage down to that starter. So I think we're going to go ahead and charge this battery up a little bit. It's about 12.2, which I like to see it at 12.8 or maybe a little more. So I got it on a charger for a few minutes. Other than that, all the rest of the vacuum delete's done. I got to hang a carburetor on here. Got to figure out how I'm going to mount this throttle cable now. And then other little bits and pieces, figure out a breather for this and some other things. So that might be it for today. Now I take that back. When I try to crank it, I'll go ahead and record again for a little bit, and we'll see what happens with this thing. Fingers crossed, God willing. Well, battery's been charging for a little bit. Let's see what we get. Voltmeter comes up. Oh. Well, I can certainly hear a little bit of starter attempt. So that's nice. Still got some work to do. Geez, we got headlights. Let's see if we got tail lights. No, nothing on the right. Yes, left. So we got a bulb that's out. Okay. Signals. No ticking. Although I found a flasher can and a box of spare parts, so I would suspect that might be why nothing else is happening. But dang it if that isn't a good sign right there. I think I'm going to leave this battery on the charger overnight. We'll call this good for the day. I'm pretty happy with that progress. Thank you to whoever stuck around all the way to the end watching this. If you wouldn't mind, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, maybe like the video, I don't know. Help an old guy out. Thanks, everybody. Take care.